Welcome to Witches in Yoga Pants, your cozy corner of the cosmos where modern magic meets everyday life. We're here to explore magic, mindfulness, and personal growth with a grounded, no-fluff vibe. Whether you're into moon rituals, tarot spreads, or just trying to survive Mercury retrograde, you are in the right place. So get ready to disrupt some old patterns, explore what it means to reclaim your power, and remember who you really are. So pull up your yoga mat, light a candle, and let's get into it. Hello and welcome back. I'm really glad you're here. This is part 2 of our series on feminine archetypes. And today we're moving into 4 energies that tend to live a little deeper in the body, the intuition, and the inner world. Before we begin, I want to briefly come back to something that we talked about in the first episode, because it really is the foundation for everything in this series. These archetypes are not roles that you need to fit into. They're not fixed identities, and they're not something you either are or are not. They are patterns of energy, ways of being that move through you at different times in your life. You may recognize one of these as something you're currently experiencing, or you may hear one and think, I remember when that felt true for me. Or you may notice that something you haven't fully stepped into is starting to stir. And just like we talked about before, you don't move through these in a straight line. They overlap, they cycle, and they come forward when they're needed. So as we move through these today, I want you to stay in the same place of noticing, not labeling or trying to figure it out, just recognizing what feels familiar, what feels present, and what might be asking for your attention. Today, we're exploring the wild woman, the mystic, the healer, and the creatrix. Let's begin with the wild woman. The wild woman is the energy of instinct. She lives more in the body than in the mind. She's connected to truth in a way that doesn't require explanation or permission. This is the part of you that knows when something is off, even if you can't logically explain why. It's the part of you that feels when something is right before you have evidence. You might notice this energy when you feel a strong pull towards freedom, when you start to feel restless in spaces that once felt fine, when your body is starting to ask for something different than what your mind has been trying to maintain. There is often a reclaiming energy here, a remembering of your own rhythm, your own voice, and your own boundaries and instincts. This energy can feel powerful, but it can also feel uncomfortable if you're not used to listening to it. Because the wild woman doesn't always make decisions that look reasonable from the outside. She makes decisions that feel true. In a more grounded expression, this energy is deeply connected, embodied, and self-trusting. In a strained expression, it can come through as impulsive, reactive, or disconnected from structure. But at its core, the wild woman is about coming back into your body and trusting what you feel. Next, we move into the mystic. The mystic is the energy of inner knowing. This is where your awareness begins to turn inward in a deeper way. When you start to trust what you sense, what you feel, and what you intuit, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. This energy often brings a desire for stillness, for space and reflection. You may notice this when you feel less interested in external noise and more drawn into your own inner world. When you begin to notice patterns, synchronicities, or subtle shifts in energy, you may notice a draw towards the unseen, seeking divine connection, and your dreams become more vivid. When you feel guided in ways that are difficult to explain, there's a softness here, but also depth. The mystic doesn't need to prove anything. She listens, observes, and she allows. In a more grounded expression, this energy is intuitive, receptive, and deeply connected. In a more strained expression, it can become ungrounded, overly withdrawn, or disconnected from the physical world altogether. But at its core, the mystic is about learning to trust your own inner voice. From there, we move into the healer. The healer is the energy of repair and integration. This is where we begin to turn towards what has been unresolved. And we don't always need to fix it quickly, but rather allow space to understand it, to hold it, and to begin allowing it to shift. You might notice this energy when something old begins to surface. It can be a pattern, a memory, or a way of responding that no longer feels aligned. And instead of pushing it away, there's a willingness to stay with it, to ask questions, to listen, to support yourself in a different way. This can also show up as a desire to support others, to hold space, to offer care, and to share what you've learned through your own experiences. But what's important here is the healer's not about bypassing your own process. In a more grounded expression, the healer is compassionate, patient, and willing to move at the pace that real integration requires. In a strained expression, this energy can become over-identified with helping others, avoiding personal work, or trying to fix everything quickly. At its core, the healer is about allowing transformation to happen through presence and care. And then we come to the Creatrix. The Creatrix is the energy of creation. And this is where something within you begins to take form. It can be an idea, a vision, a desire to build, express, or bring something into the world. This energy can feel exciting, expansive, and sometimes a little overwhelming. Because creation asks you to move something from the unseen into the seen. You might notice this when you feel inspired in a way that doesn't go away, when ideas come quickly, when you feel the urge to make something, start something, or express something that feels true to you. There's movement here, there's momentum, but there's also vulnerability, because creating something means being seen. In a more grounded expression, the Creatrix is expressive, inspired, and willing to bring ideas into form. In a strained expression, this energy can feel scattered, unfinished, or blocked by perfectionism or self-doubt. At its core, the Creatrix is about allowing what is within you to come into form. As you sit with these four, you may notice that they feel different from the ones we talked about in the first episode. They tend to live a little deeper. They ask for listening, for trust, and for connection to something that isn't always visible on the surface. And just like before, you may recognize yourself in one, in several, or in all of them at different points in your life. None of this is fixed. It's all movement. In the final part of this series, we'll move into 4 more archetypes that carry a different kind of energy, one that is rooted in discernment, truth, wisdom, and a deeper self-leadership. The warrior, the priestess, the crone, and the sage. So until next time, notice what your body has been trying to tell you. Pay attention to what is asking to be created or expressed, and give yourself space to listen a little more deeply than you normally do. Take what you've heard today even further by joining my newsletter community. Each week, you'll receive journal prompts and reflections connected to the episode that are designed to guide you in bringing these conversations off the podcast and into your own journey. Let's keep going deeper together. The link is waiting for you below.